Good evening, guys. Good evening once again. Welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. So, guys, I am telling this story close to midnight, so you understand why I have to keep my voice extremely on the low so that I don't disturb the sleep of my people in this house. Anyway, there's a video clip of Julius Malema when he was talking about Floyd's background. So I don't know whether they agreed that he must talk about it like that, because when you look at that video clip, it was during a time when their relationship was good. Now, he spoke about the toilets. There were no toilets. But I'm going to let you watch the video yourself. But what I want to do, I want to share my own story after you watched that video clip. It is that kind of a background. It is the background that has given us presidents from the villages, 3 consecutive black South Africans who were black South Africans. 3 of them were from the villages. That was Nelson Mandela, is from Kunu, President Thabo Mbeki is from also the village, that side, and former President Jacob Zuma is from Kandla. Because when you were growing up a long time ago, you would have that drive that I want to be somebody, I want to do this and do that, I just want a different life. There was that motivation and that kind of a spirit of desiring more and understanding that it has to come from you. We grew up understanding that nobody owed us anything. That's what growing up in the village does to you. You'd understand that, you know what, come to Ondikolota Nix. It has to all come from me. So, okay, anyway, I'm going to allow you to watch that video so that I can be able to share my story with you.
Floyd Shivambu comes from a village called Mahonis. There's no toilet. There are no roads. The first time he saw a computer in his life was when he was at vet. I don't know, but I will be safe to say the first time he saw a white person in a close proximity as well was at vet. And he says when the person was teaching, he can't hear what that person is saying, and everybody's writing. So the white person just goes, everything else doesn't make sense. And they say, no, go and do this assignment. Then they go to the computer lab. Everybody is typing there. He can't switch it off. He even goes under the table to check, where is the switch? That's how rural he is. And there's no way, and there's no any amount of education and development in your life that will ever break your roots. I mean, the CEO of Standard Bank, Lungisa, you can see he's successful, wealthy man, but every little opportunity he gets, he goes to the rural.
Julius Malema, they said Floyd Shivambu comes from Mahonis in Limpopo, I would assume Mahonis, a village, and there were no toilets, no electricity, no computer. Floyd has never seen a white man in close proximity. And when he went to school, he wouldn't understand a white man, everything with blood. And Floyd wouldn't understand anything. You see, now we talk about Floyd, who is doing well. He is in KZN, he's in Gauteng, he's in Cape Town, he's what? He's the national organizer for MK, he was also doing well within the EFF. What I'm trying to say is that if you grew up in such conditions in the villages and you are now living in big cities, you can survive in both. And your experiences of life, nobody can take that away from you. You have these 2 experiences. So what am I saying? I'm saying if you grew up in such circumstances, be proud of it. Be proud of it. That is why I remember when I was living in Gauteng, all my friends would be looking for me, even if I don't feel like seeing people. I might sound like I like mixing up with people and be in a groovy place. No, it used to find me because of my personality. People would like to be around me, and I share stories, we laugh, and all those kind of things. I never played victim because I grew up in the village. Instead, I used to do things people would think like, how did you do that? Like for me, doing such a thing in Gauteng was not a big deal because I'm from a harsh life in the villages. Anyway, but I would like to share my story now. I went to Gauteng as a young girl, and I don't know whether to say fortunately or unfortunately, I was already married then. Somebody said they don't like to hear me talk about my in-laws. I promise you this is the last time I talk about such a thing. Something might happen and I find myself talking about it again. So I was there as a young girl, but I got married at 19. So now I went to this college. I'm not going to mention the college because I don't know whether it still exists. So nobody paid me to do that. So I was living in Troyville, if you know Troyville, and then the college was in GP Street. So Joburg the CBD was still on the clean side. So you'd be able to walk from Troyville and go to school in GP and Von Brandis. If you know the college that was there, it's your own to share in the comment section. But I'm not going to be promoting anybody because I don't know whether that college still functions. Mind you, where I come from at that time, the school I used to attend, they knew that I was a smartest kid in those years that I was in high school. So now I went to college in GP and Von Brandis. I've always been on the business side. That was a business college. Now, guys, and I used to walk from Troyville to GP and Von Brandis every day, going to attend. And all the other children that I was attending with would go catch a taxi, like they would say things like, "You walking? How do you do that from so far?" So then the CPD was still very safe. Yes, there were incidents, but you wouldn't be like walking around looking over your shoulders. I used to walk from GP Street, find my way down Troy End Street, and then I end up walking up the police station. I don't know whether it's Market Street, yes, which tends to be beside in Wood when you're going to the direction of Spa. But I'll take it there and then go up from the police station to Troyville. So I used to do that like on a daily basis. I wouldn't feel a thing. So it was a shocker to the people that were living in Gauteng, the younger children that we were attending school with. They were like, "No, but how do you walk like that?" And also because we were struggling then. We were struggling life. So I wouldn't even have lunch money for food. I wouldn't even carry my lunch because there is nothing to carry from the house. My own thing was to study and be somebody and be the person that I wanted to be, so that I get to navigate the spaces that I wanted to navigate. Even that journey was challenged by certain things, but I would never tell that story. Anyway, I remember the first time. I remember we used to have our lecturers there. We had Mendelssohn and the other one was Velem. Please do understand that South Africa was only a few years out of the apartheid regime. Only a few years. So there was still that thing. We didn't know as children that we coming from the apartheid era because we had no clue what was going on. So only when I went there, I was like, but how come these ones know this? Why don't I know this? Yet, it is because of the history that we're coming from. That's why we didn't get to experience certain things. So I remember there was also this narrative that black students were so slow in catching up on things and whatnot, forgetting that we come from schools in the villages. You see, for us, kudos to us. who had that journey at that time when there was no social media. At home, we didn't have TV. We had radio, and we would hardly play that radio because it needed a battery. Who's got time to buy a battery for a radio when there's no food in the house? We grew up at a time when there was no grant. Grant was for sick people, very, very sick people, and the elderly. Yeah. Yo, guys, I'm even sweating. It's very hot where I am. So telling this story, I'm seeing the memories playing in my head. So now, when it is, we have to listen to Mendelssohn, especially Mendelssohn. Willem was better because he was young and when Julius Malema said, a Floyd could not understand a white man. The white man was like, Hey, guys, I loved it because all that Julius Malema said in that video clip is telling my story. He's telling my story. It was for the first time for me to see a white man that close. Secondly, I came from whenever I had to go to town, in town you would meet white people that spoke, some spoke the languages that were spoken, some speak isiSotho, some spoke isiZulu, some spoke isiXhosa. So you'd understand that we had no problems communicating in that area. So, and some who couldn't speak properly those languages would be speaking Fanagalo. So there was no demand for English. Hey, guys, and I got to the city of lights, the concrete jungle, and I was there. And then there was the children that came from Soweto and who grew up basically in Gauteng, they were good. They were communicating, they were good, but they were slow somewhere. But the slowest ones, I thought I was alone. When you're experiencing something like that, you think like, my goodness, why am I here? Because I'm not hearing a thing. I still remember because I was doing a financial accounting, just so that I understand the things that I would be doing. And then I saw a computer for the first time there. I didn't even know where to switch it on. I was panicking. You don't know where to switch it on. No, and you realize that the people that we are with, most of them have a clue. And we also had the majority white students who were cruising. Guys, apartheid was bad. And now, I remember hearing Willem saying, yo, black students are so slow. They are not catching anything. He tried. I would raise my hand all the time and I would struggle even to talk. I would be pointing. And by that time, don't forget, I was a very smart kid. But I got to Joburg. I became in fact, you know what? Hey, guys. So then I remember we had a test, right? I still don't know how to use that computer. I need somebody to switch it on every day, even punching the numbers. There was a thing that now is called pastel. That time it was called ACPEC or something like that, if I remember very well. So now we were entering the figures so that we can end up having that trial balance, Guys, I don't know what I was doing there. And then we would be told to print, that now it's time to print. And then I press print, like I knew where print was. I move my mouse, I go and click on print. And then when I clicked on that print, my own print, I went like, it was done. And imagine we are writing the same paper with the rest of the other students. Their computers didn't stop. Their printers didn't stop. They went, that thermal paper. It was piling next to them like this. I was like, Candy, what am I doing? What is it? Then I called, I remember, I think it was Mendelssohn. He was short. I called her. I was like, I don't know. You know that poor English from the villages. I was like, I don't understand here. I don't know what I did. I was like, my printer has stopped printing. He's like, he's giving you what you have been feeding it. There's no way I can get that information for you. The computer is done doing the job that you have been feeding it. Yo. And when he was telling me, so I only heard that there's nothing that I can help you with. The rest it was I thought I was alone. I thought I was alone who was feeling that way. So I felt dismally. So I remember when we got the results and we were going home, that day I used a taxi, something that I didn't do often. We used a taxi. So there was this girl from Limpopo. I still remember her name was Cynthia. I pray that she's still alive wherever she is. She was living in Malvern. She said to me, she was stressed. I didn't even ask her if she passed or what marks she got and whatnot. As we were walking to the taxi to Elof Street, she said in Spade, I could understand the Spade because my in-laws were Sotho, so I understood Sotho. So she was like, what's about happen khalabola akemukui kunzari even like face lu fail. I felt hurt, I felt seen. I was like, I am not alone. I am not alone, Kanti. I am not alone. You see, and from there I decided I'm going to work on myself. You see, in the yard that we're living in, it was one white lady's yard and we were renting a room at the back. I asked her to watch shows like The Bold and the Beautiful and all those shows. Not because I like TV. I wanted to pick up a lot of English words, and then I bought a small radio and I forgot about Umhlobo Wenene and all other radio stations that all the Nguni thing is radio stations. I was like, angeke. I started listening to 94.7 to improve my language. I worked on myself. That's the kind of spirit that we had from growing up in the villages. I'm not surprised seeing Floyd like that. You get. So now I improved. Then I started excelling at school. I improved. So when I saw that video clip, I was like, Julius Malema is telling my story. It's just that we had toilets where I came from, even though they were pit toilets. There was no toilet in my own home, but it still gave the Kuvuki land kind of a lifestyle. The life that you have to really work so hard to catch up when you get to big cities and build yourself to be somebody. And have that confidence. And also what it does, when you accept that this is a kind of a background that you have and not try to hide it, it gives you that confidence and you are able to build yourself towards. That is why you can do very little to discourage us people from the villages. That was spiritual. You can do very little. Like even when you see us on platforms like your YouTube, like this, Facebook and all other platforms, to try and discourage us when we found something that works for us, that is giving that little money that is giving us, and you try and remove us from there, or maybe try and bully us out of it, you're going to struggle. It's going to struggle because we know the things that we ran away from. We know the things that up to this day we are still trying to change. So guys, I thought let me share this story with you. And also what happened some other time ago. I remember when I was struggling in Joburg, because Gauteng has its seasons. So when things started going south for me, I decided, you know what, because my son was very, very young. I was like, I don't want to struggle with children in Gauteng. And then I asked my mom to take my son for me for a while. Then December, I left my daughter to stay with me so that she can continue schooling. So December time, it was now, by that time I was already a divorcee. So I decided to take, my daughter went with her father to the village, and my son also joined the sister in the father's house. So when they got there, my daughter, because was a bit grown, she felt like she's going to sink in that pit toilet. She didn't want to use the pit toilet because, you know what, she's now this city baby, was born in Joburg, grew up in Joburg, so she couldn't relate. And then by the time I took both of them back to me in Gauteng, when things got better, I took my son from my mom and my daughter was with me. They came from those December holidays. In January, my son came to me and my daughter came to me. Now, my son, because he was a boy, young boy, he was the last born. I mean to say, the last born. He was younger than my daughter with 3 years. So my daughter accompanies. He wanted to go and use the toilet, and then my daughter flushes the toilet. With my son being the boys, he punches my daughter, the sister, on the stomach. Hey, she was gasping for air, and that time my son was 3. I was like, why did you do that? He was like, she wants me to sink inside the toilet. You know, my daughter was scared of the pit toilet, rightfully so. And my son, because now he's in Gauteng now, he's seeing this toilet that you flush that he has water. He says, my sister wants me to sink inside the toilet. So what I'm saying is, I'm trying to show you that, you see that background. You know, the minute I saw that video clip, I was like, wow, Floyd, you come from the same background like mine. And when Julius Malema was talking like that, it was like he is talking about my own story. I'll tell you what, when I was not working in Joburg and things were bad, and I used to have friends who had your catering company, your what and what, all those things I hated. Because as I said in another video clip, that I don't like hard labor. Catering is hard labor. Imagine when you have to cater for 300 people and all of that. But because of the background that I have growing up in the villages, we worked hard. I would do that catering with tears, because I don't like anything that wakes me up in the midnight. I have to focus on cooking, sleeping 1 hour because I'm cooking for 500 people that are at the SAPC and stuff like that. So, but I did it because of survival. You know. So it sort of trained us somehow. Forget the fact that siyabhayiza xa sifikayo eGauteng singazazi noba siyabuya, but ekugqibeleni kunalaa nto isiphushayo. But you need to be somebody, and you just can't stop trying until you get to be on the level that you desire. That's all that I wanted to do, guys. I want to share with you the story that, you know what, that Floyd story is not a small story. Anyone that comes from the village, I am talking, even if you are a young child who's been doing grade 12 and we are about to meet at varsity, people that come from a different background than yours, people that are sharp, people that are up in the cities, people that twang, people that who've got it together. Trust me, it's a matter of time before you find your feet. It's a matter of time before you feel comfortable and be the person that you want to be. Kuyaketchapeka, guys, kwezindawo kuyaketchapeka. There is room to catch up. Hey, sometimes there's even room to overtake. So don't undermine yourself because you are from the village and you grew up in the villages. You know, I am telling you, when the first time when I saw what is that thing called? Anil said explosives. Aye, they are explosives. And you see now, since tomorrow is going to be the New Year's Eve midnight, people will be doing amakrik and stuff. I did not know those things. I thought when the stadium, I don't know whether it was the Springboks who were playing and they won, and the cricketers were being fired like that. You know, I ran back to the house and said, those are guns, because I knew that GP Hostel was not far from where we, and we have heard the stories about GP Hostel, the guns and whatnot. I went and hid myself under the bed. The person that I was married to at that time kept on saying, no, it's the stadium. I was like, no ways, Bari Tunya. He said, come outside, come and see. I was so embarrassed. But then again, I lived to tell the tale, child. Please, I'm here to tell that story. Look at me, just look at me. You would never tell. You would never tell that I'm that person who has gone through that. Anyway, guys, if you watched up to here, thank you for watching my videos. This is South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here.